but we're not ready. So we go over here, and then I got to do this. Now you're ready.
Okay. Hey, guys. Welcome back to Ridiculous Radio. I'm Conrad, and that's...
I'm Josh.
Hi, I'm Keith.
Hey. So, tonight we're going to be having... Oh, what's up? Are you guys up? Are you guys above me on your guys' screen, too? So, like, if I point up, it makes sense. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Just wanted to make sure, like, everyone understands, like, directional. That one.
Dude,
whoa, except it's backwards on my camera.
What if we looked at each other when we talked? That'd be trippy. Like, what's up, comrade?
Yeah. Except, wait, hold on. No, if I look up at Josh, or Josh is supposed to be my camera, shows me looking. Yeah, my camera shows me looking at you.
Yeah, see, I have to look at
Josh over there.
We'll talk to Keith. Stay down there.
Yeah, Josh is up there. The camera's backwards. I'll get used to it. But yeah, tonight, guys.
Something? Is that what you're for? The Brady Bunch?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that idea. I really like that idea.
We made an intro song.
The Brady.
No, not. You can't use that. Oh, shit. All right, so what?
Oh, yeah, I got to send Brandon the link.
So, what's new with everybody's day today?
Tracked.
My promotion finally went into official effect this week.
Nice.
So you're a manager now, huh?
I am. Got keys and fancy polo shirts now.
I got new slippers.
Oh.
Those are Carly wanted to deal.
Thank you, guys.
Quad pig.
That's cool. She's more than welcome. Carly's got some cool new slippers she wants to showcase on the street,
that's
guys.
Alana.
That's Alana.
Alana does.
Yeah,
Fuck.
is over there.
I can only hear you guys. I can't see you guys. It'd be easier if I could like see you guys, like
I
where
guess if you
Josh is.
Alana's voice.
She goes,
Where
I'm
Keith
going to
is.
sit in tonight. Is that okay? I'm like, yeah, sure. I didn't tell her she was allowed to talk, though. Yeah.
So we had a water main break today.
Oh, yeah.
We wake up at 7:00 and realized that we didn't have water.
What the hell? Why are you pulling the chair down?
Wait.
Did you guys get that fixed?
She's trying to show off her slippers.
Yeah, it's fixed now. Why are you spinning me
Okay.
around?
Yeah, you guys also sent some pretty cool pictures to your story. Keith, you want to talk about that clutch real quick?
Today's clutch?
Yeah.
So the spider finally laid after day 49 and about 16 heart attacks. So every day I'm like, why isn't she laying? But finally, so we got 6 healthy eggs out of her. Almost made me late to work, but it's cool. I woke up, was like, Josh, come get over here right now. It's like, I gotta go.
Yeah, I seen Josh's story, because he posted the pictures of the eggs on his story.
Yeah.
So I messaged him. I said, who wait? He's
Finally.
yeah, it's about time.
From Alex.
Huh?
Well, I said, I'm still waiting on a phone call from Alex to go out and deal with your berm.
The berm didn't lay yet?
Man.
Nah.
I just 40 sent me a snap saying she did. He needs to figure out his English, man. He like misconstrues messages all the time.
Mm-hmm.
All the time. Everything he sends me is not accurate.
Everything he sends me is not accurate. I don't know.
He like
Purpose at this point, or
he tells me one thing or just words it wrong, or maybe I read it wrong, and then I tell Josh, and Josh is like, no, that's not what he told me. Like,
that's not what I heard. Sorry.
I just whatever he tells me, I'm just gonna assume the opposite from now on.
Oh yeah,
Thank you, Jamie. How you
I
doing?
don't blame you.
All right. Well, Brandon,
Hey, how's it going, Jamie?
Brandon is here
Oh,
waiting.
Brandon's here.
You ready?
All right. Well, then we'll bring him on.
Do a drum roll.
There we go. Yeah, there we go.
What's up?
What's going on, man?
Hey guys, how you doing?
Hey, how's it going, Brandon? So everyone, this is Brandon Fowler with Roaming Reptiles of Wisconsin, formerly Roaming Reptiles out in California. Yeah, so Brandon, thanks for joining us today. Is there
No problem.
so what started you off into the reptile hobby?
I think the first thing was I remember we lived in a town, city, Salinas, California, and they were doing construction behind our house, and my dad came home with 2 California king snakes, and that kind of got me started. You know, when I first had those and was playing with those and letting them bite me and all that kind of good stuff, and we've kind of been hooked ever since.
All right. So with Roaming Reptiles, for those that don't, do you want to kind of explain what you guys do a little bit?
Sure. So we go to schools and libraries, birthday parties, corporate events, and in California it was pretty much nonstop. We were probably doing more shows than anybody in the country per month, and now we moved out here to the Midwest to Wisconsin to kind of get out of California and try something new. And we were starting to book shows, and then quarantine happened, and now we're just kind of waiting and building up and getting ready for that to be over with so we can really hit the ground running. But we go everywhere. We did shows everywhere in California, up to Oregon. But we did a lot of shows. I think our last month there we had over 90. Yeah. We had over 90 shows in 1 month.
Nice.
Wow. Yeah, I was gonna say, you guys were doing like 3 to 4 a day at one point, like back to back.
Yeah. It's important, to make sure that all these kids have a chance to see and interact with these animals. It's not that's by far the most important thing about this hobby, and I tell people all the time, the most important part of this hobby is the educational side, because we're out there every day in front of people, kids and adults, it doesn't matter, to give them that chance to interact with something that they probably wouldn't be able to any other way.
For sure. So what all take to these shows?
I'm sorry?
What all different kind of like species and whatnot do you take to the shows?
So we do, we have obviously like a tegu, those are always pretty popular to have.
Yeah.
Tarantulas, turtles, tortoises, different species of frogs, and then we have a ball python, because those are easy to take to shows, and a berm and retics and stuff like that. But it's all animals that I've worked with quite a bit before they do any shows. I don't just pick them up and then do a show with them.
Right.
They got to go through their training to make sure they can handle it. And now we have an alligator now that we're in Wisconsin, so that just makes my life complete.
So you said training. What do you go through to, per se, train them for the shows? Just handle them a lot, and like
it's constant movement. Yeah. It's never letting them just kind of relax for a little while. As soon as I get an animal, I start working it, and it's handling it, moving it around, putting it in a travel container, whatever I would do for a show. I want to do that with that animal, and I want to make sure that it's out being handled, and it never has that opportunity to kind of just stow away. I want it moving, because it's going to have hands all over it. It's going to have kids holding it, and it's got to be safe. And so it never gets a break for a while. It's got to keep moving.
That's cool.
So what got you into the educational shows and the educational side of the hobby? Where did you start that at?
So my wife booked the previous owner of Roaming Reptiles for my daughter's school, for her classroom, for her birthday, and he did that show for the classroom, and it was just a really cool thing to see. And a few years later, I got a message on Facebook from him telling me that he was moving and wanted to sell the business. And the only reason he knew he contacted me is because I had a picture of myself holding a snake or something, and he was just sending out emails, and he didn't realize that we booked him for one of his first shows he ever did. And so we kind of worked it out, and I took over, and I was a nervous wreck, because I would never get in front of people ever. I was terrified of crowds, and now it's weird because that's what I do for a living.
Right. Next thing you know, you're up in front of 300 to 500 people.
Yeah.
3 times a day. I mean, that's a huge jump.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah. Now the shows that make me more nervous are the small ones. When it's 10, 15 people at a birthday party, I'm far more nervous there than I am a large group.
Right. Which I believe kind of makes sense in some aspects.
Yeah, it's strange,
So, like, when you started doing these shows and everything, what helped you overcome like your like stage fright, I guess you'd call it?
Well, I'm lucky to have a pretty awesome wife that supports me and pushes me and believes in what I can do. Because I honestly didn't think I could do it. And I remember my first show, she went with me and we did it. And it was just unbelievable feeling. You see the faces of these people when you pull out, a larger lizard or a snake they've never heard of. And then they get an opportunity to hold it, and interact with it. And it just kind of blows your mind, And I knew after that first show, this was what I was going to be doing for the rest of my life. So we just kept booking, and we never turned down shows for any reason. We took them all.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of fun. I've only done one show as far as educational with our buddy Scott from Iceman Reptiles. And dude, it was a blast. Just seeing all the kids, like everybody, even old people were just fascinated because they've never got to handle one or hold one or touch one. It's always a lot of fun.
Yeah,
it's definitely a different experience.
And we're lucky now that I have Brian Cusco out in California running Roaming Reptiles of California now, and he had a ton of shows booked too before this hit. And unfortunately, a lot of educators that do these shows we're pretty much hung out to dry right now. There's not really much we can do till this is over, and that hurts. A lot.
Do you think about doing something like this? Maybe like do an online show?
I've thought about it, but I kind of my big thing with my show is interaction. I want it's more about the kids and adults touching. YouTube is great, but you just can't get that same same thing across.
Like wherever we go to, reptile shows to sell stuff. Like I like to, if a little kid, wants to see something, I'm more than welcome. I want to pull it out, and just that first time of them ever holding a snake, you just see they fall in love with it.
Right.
That whole fear or anything that's put out the door.
Yeah, and the thing is for these kids, and even like I keep going to adults because we've done a lot of shows where it's just adults, and they've had their first time holding a snake or a tarantula or something, and it just something happens to them. It changes them. When they get that experience, when they overcome that fear, when they have that opportunity, where it's not one of those things where they're being embarrassed or they're being kind of shamed into it. It's really just a cool thing. And so, I've thought about doing the YouTube. I've made a couple of videos, but nothing. I'm not weekly or anything like that. It's just kind of like whenever.
Yeah.
But yeah, hopefully this thing ends relatively soon so we can get back at it.
Agreed.
So you recently started working with someone else, and you got most of your collection over there for the time being. Did you want to talk about that at all? I think you said that was like Venom Labs, or
so it's Mtoxins Venom Labs in Oshkosh, and we met through Ryan McVeigh, and we were talking, and next thing I know, we kind of rented out a spot there on the main floor of the zoo. And so that's where we're going to be. We can do shows there so people can come to us. And so not only will they get our show, but they can also get a tour of the Mtoxins Zoo, and they can also get a venom extraction part of the show. So they kind of get everything. And so we have all of our animals there well, most of our animals. I have George behind me, our monkey tail. He stays here with us.
Yeah.
But most of the animals are there. And so it's really kind of a cool thing to be able to bring these two things together. You know, my show is really kind of a hands-on, mostly hands-on type deal. But then they get to see these other really cool snakes from the Venice Lab.
That sounds awesome.
You know, and the curator there, the owner, Nate Frank, he has a great background, not only just in the animals themselves, but in safety, you know, which is a big thing. So it's really important that, you know, all this kind of works together, and I think it's going to be really big.
Oh,
Yeah, that actually sounds super cool. You know, you get your hands-on experience at the Venom Lab with some reptiles, and then you get to go to the hands-off experience where you go see all the cool venomous stuff as well, you know. So
yeah, and there's some cool ones there. I go up there right now. I'm going up there about 3 times a week, just kind of checking on my animals, but then also helping, you know, build the zoo itself, setting up some of the snakes and stuff like that. So it's really been a fun deal to go and learn myself about all these.
Oh yeah.
So what are you hoping for the future of roaming reptiles?
I want to get back to where we're in California. I want to do more shows than anybody. I want shows every day. You know, that just means there's more people out there that we're getting in front of, getting our animals in front of, and
Right.
giving them a chance to interact with and learn about. Because people are only going to save what they can touch, you know, what they can really get close to. And if I get them to be able to hold, you know, George the monkey tail, you know, maybe that'll spark something. They get excited about wanting to save that island, you know, and help those animals out. Even if it's, you know, a bearded dragon or a leopard gecko or something, you know, that might spark a kid to get into like, you know, become a zookeeper or something, you know, in that field, a veterinarian. And if we can do that, that's a huge deal. That's a big impact.
Yeah, because there's a big difference from doing it hands-on and on TV or YouTube.
First of all,
There's people that demonize them,
Right.
or there's people that, you know, they show that there's nothing to fear, but you don't know what to believe through TV. It's all what's in front of you. You know, once they touch it, they know that they can believe what they felt through it.
Right. Yeah. And you know, there are a few YouTube channels that I'll you know, kind of put out there for kids to watch. There's not many, because a lot of them are, you know, hyped, and they try to add a drama and, you know, try to make it, you know, like something bad's going to happen or something, you know, stupid like that. And stuff like that we don't need. It's completely useless. You know, if you got to do any of that kind of stuff and add the drama to it, you know, you're not worth of, you know, anything you do.
I agree.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
It's all clickbait.
Yeah.
Reviews.
that's what it is.
Yeah. You know, just, you know, the animals are, you know, I there's a part in, was it Jurassic World where he says dinosaurs, you know, wow enough. And that's kind of like how it is with the reptiles, man. When you get in front of kids, all you need is the reptile. You know, that's exciting enough. That gets them going. You know, it gets them excited. You know, and it's not about me. It's not about the host. They're not going to remember me, but they will remember the animal, and that's what's important.
For sure. I work at a pet store, and people come in all the time, and it's funny seeing like moms and dads afraid of all the reptiles, and the kids are like, I want to hold it. What's this? What's in that one? It's like
that's every show.
Yeah.
You know, you'd be amazed. You know, there's always a part of the show. I have a little under-year-old cicada, just a little guy, and I would always call for the mom to come up, and I would put him in my palm and I'd cover him, and I would say, you know, this is an animal, you know, where it's from, this and that, kind of, you know, just talk it up a little bit. And I'd have her hold her hand out, and I'd put it in her hand, and she'd be so nervous, you know, but then as soon as she realized it was a tortoise, she'd completely calm down and everything was cool. And then she'd be ready to move on, you know. Then I'd bring up like the tarantula or something like that, you know, and everything's good, you know, they're happy, you know, and you do little tricks like that to kind of calm everybody down, get them relaxed, get them comfortable. Then you can move in to, the tarantulas or the larger snakes or something like that they would have that little, maybe a fear of. And you'd be amazed how doing something like that knocks that fear out. And you can kind of move on and really get them going on other animals.
Oh, yeah.
That's
So
actually
it's
really
small techniques like
great.
that a lot of people don't think of, too.
Yeah, it's even using a snake hook, because they see on TV or YouTube, people, especially at birthday parties, they see them using a snake hook.
Mm-hmm.
And it's I'll let, one of the kids use a snake hook on a king snake or something and kind of give them that experience of what it's like,
Yeah.
and that's like, was such a massive deal for some of these kids. They get to, hold this snake hook and, they're snake wrangling a king snake, but it's exciting, right? And it doesn't hurt them, doesn't hurt the snake, and it's a good experience.
I feel like it makes them feel like an adult whenever you're giving them more to do.
Right. Yeah. And it's just like they have that experience of they're doing something that we do, and so they kind of carry that with them, and they'll get a picture with him and holding a snake hook and a snake, or something like that.
For sure.
So, hold on. Yeah, I just blanked out what I was going to say. Josh, Keith, you got another question? I'm trying to... That happens too much. No? Okay.
No.
I'm trying to not talk too much because I like run out of breath with being sick. But yeah, I don't know.
Right.
Well,
right. So
the biggest thing for me is just the education. I say time blue in the face. I want these kids to appreciate these animals, respect these animals, and learn about these animals and have fun with these animals, not, grow up fearing them. And that's why, especially at my birthday parties, one of my rules is all the parents have to be around with the kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell them that because, I tell the parents, I need all the parents here to kind of help with the kids. That's not the reason why, because the kids aren't, they're not anything to worry about. It's because I want the parents to understand that these are not bad animals, and they're not going to, eat your kid or anything like that. And so I make sure they're all there watching the show too, so they kind of understand it. And usually after the show, it's like they want to find out how they can get an animal, So.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah. So, were there any learning curves that kind of when you first started doing the shows, anything that really helped you improve your techniques more in the shows?
Yeah, the guy I bought the business from, Andrew, I think I probably did 20, 25, 30 shows with him. And I literally just stayed behind the table watching. And I would hand him animals. And so I learned a lot from that. And honestly, I watched YouTube videos and learned not what to do, and to stay away from. And then I was just kind of, talking to other friends or my wife or somebody, that just have ideas, and they just kept giving me ideas on things I could do and tips and tricks and, how to get people involved. And so it kind of went from being a show that we would talk more about the animals to a show where it's mostly about interaction. It's mostly about people touching and holding. I have stories from shows that I'll never forget, special things that have happened just because they had that opportunity to touch and hold these animals.
All right.
Yeah. I mean, you guys got Brian Cusco, when you were still doing the whole roaming reptiles in California, Brian Cusco made a video where he came out and he was helping you with
Right.
I don't know if that was in the process of him trying to take over, but no.
Literally, I think it was, when was it? It was how long before we moved? It was maybe a month or two before we moved. I went to his house because he was gonna. I think I went there to visit. I had a show, something. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, he was gonna come with me for a second show, just to come watch. And I walked in his house, and I made the decision that if I couldn't find the right person to take over Roman Reptiles in California, I was just going to shut it down. And I walked in his house, and I remember feeling, this feeling. It just said, "This is the guy. This is who you got to have." And so I brought it up, and he was like, "No, I don't have time for that." Then we started shooting the video, and I brought it up again during the video. Put a little pressure on him, and the next day, he said he would do it, and he said he would do it, once a week, something like that. And I said, "That's great. That'll last about a week, and you'll start doing them every day." And sure enough, he started booking more and more shows. So I really couldn't think of can't think of a better guy to take over in California. I think he's going to do some amazing stuff. Once this thing gets lifted, we can kick it into gear doing shows again.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because Brian's got this way of like connecting with people through even like his YouTube videos. He's just good at talking with people, I guess. Or
he is. He's really good.
Yeah.
He's easygoing. He's good with kids, which is extremely important. But he can talk to adults. He can do all of that. So I think it's we gave him some of our animals that are used to being moved around and touched by 100 kids at a time. That way it kind of eases him into it a little bit more. And so he's going to do good. I'm really proud of what he's done.
Oh yeah.
So now, what's the craziest question someone has ever asked at a show?
The craziest question.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, I've been asked about, snakes eating, kids.
Yeah.
And obviously every once in a while you get the dad that says, "Oh, I used to have this, gaboon viper, or, I had a 28-foot berm, and, I got that. I've gotten that a few times." And,
Right.
I could correct him. I could, but I'm not going to do that in front of his family. I'm not going to, embarrass him. I'm not going to do any of that. I just say, "Oh, wow, that's really cool." And just kind of go with it. Sometimes, there's no reason to embarrass, anybody in front of their kids or anything like that,
Yeah.
But, I do get the whole, could it eat your kid question. That's a common question.
That one show Josh did, I know he came home and was saying, he was like, "Oh, I was prepared to like answer questions about the snakes." He was like, "But none of the questions I got asked." He was like, "Kids come up with the craziest questions."
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, you get questions about, how often do they poop on you, but, all that kind of stuff, and has it ever gotten in your mouth? I've gotten that one. Yeah. You get some pretty amazing questions.
Yeah, kids are funny.
Yeah. But then when you say yes, it has, and then they freak out,
I'm sure.
I don't know. I forgot whose video I was watching. I think I was watching a nerd video not too long ago, and they were talking about snakes pooping in your mouth and salmonella and stuff. And
Yeah.
that's what that kind of reminded me of.
I remember telling people, because obviously we get the salmonella question all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I can have a sandwich in one hand and rats in another hand. My only worry is make sure I don't get my hands mixed up. Salmonella is the least of my worries. But, people freak out about it, and it's just, as long as you use common sense, you're fine.
Right.
Right. For sure. What's a few of like your favorite animals that have really helped make your shows, like that have really like gotten the kids super interested, I guess?
Well, I'm sure Conrad, I'm sure you've seen Midnight, our Tegu.
Yep.
She's probably one of the most popular animals at our shows because she is so insanely calm. I've never had, any animal, period, as calm as she is. This last summer, we were in Ridgecrest, California, doing a show at a library, and this was during when they were having all these really bad earthquakes, and we had about 300 to 400 people there, and right in the middle of my show, we had a really bad earthquake, and the kids and parents were screaming. And so I grabbed Midnight and I cleared off the table. I put her on the table and I just yelled for all the kids to stand up and come pet Midnight, to kind of take their mind off the earthquake and everything, that fear that they had, and they can come and they can, play with Midnight for a while. And for about 20, 25 minutes, she had, 150, 200 hands all over her. They were pulling on her tail, they were touching her toes, rubbing all over, and she just laid there.
That's
like
awesome.
nothing was going on. And it was the most amazing thing to see these kids, just that fear of that earthquake just went away, because they were so focused on Midnight. So she has been something just amazing at our shows, and we are definitely lucky to have her. As snakes go, man, that's tough. I mean, I've had Sally, my granite berm, when we first started. She was an amazing snake, just kind of like Midnight. Anybody can hold her and walk around with her, and I probably got 1,000 photos of people holding her. So, stuff like that. And even down to a corn snake, they can be special when you're doing these shows. It's pretty amazing. There's Midnight right there.
Awesome.
Oh yeah,
She's just an amazing animal.
for sure.
Oh man.
I mean, everybody in the pictures too just looks so happy. Like, it's awesome.
Yeah, we definitely pretty lucky to have some of the pictures and and have those experiences.
That's a good one. For sure.
I'm gonna be in trouble if Facebook ever shuts down. I lose all my pictures.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
No,
definitely.
I think everyone uses Facebook as their picture storage, once the SD card's full on the camera or phone or whatever, it all goes on Facebook, and
Yeah,
hopefully Facebook never decides
I
to
know.
delete all your pictures.
I know MySpace pictures are gone.
right. Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
We got a lot of pictures, so I'm hoping I should probably download them and keep them somewhere.
Yeah, because you guys have built yourself. I mean, I think I became Facebook friends with you right when you started taking over Roaming Reptiles,
Right.
just before something. And you guys have come like past few years, man. You guys have come a long ways, and it's always been cool to see the pictures and videos you guys post.
Yeah, I mean, it started, maybe doing a couple shows a month, just to, we were getting birthday parties mainly, stuff like that. And we went up to a place called Rankin Ranch, and they would have us or have Andrew there every other year. And I still remember my first show up there because I was scared to death because people from all around the world come to this place and stay on vacation. And so through the summer, they'd have us go up there once a week, and we'd do shows for these people from around the world, and it's, made you a little nervous. And I my first show, I know I was horrible. It was bad, and but they had me back, and so I finished off the summer, and they said, okay, well, we'll call you for the next summer. And so instead of every other year, they've had us every year. This whole time, and so it started doing a couple shows a month to growing and really just kind of going nonstop every day.
So, like, when did you guys start really doing like the school and library shows and stuff, like more of the public shows instead of like private parties? And
So we started the libraries. That was the first summer, right? The first summer, and again, my whole first year, I'm sure it was, I'm not sure how I got through it because I'm sure I was pretty bad, still learning about everything, but they kept calling us back, and so I feel over the years it got a little easier, and you kind of learn your audience, and you know what you can and can't do, who is scared and who to leave alone, and so it's really grown to something I never really thought it would, towards the end there in California. We started doing a lot more shows than what I ever thought was possible, So hopefully we can get that going here in Wisconsin.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen your Facebook posts where you were posting like, we got 3 shows to do today, like 2 in Central California, 1 in Northern. I'm like, yikes! it's,
Yeah,
it's a bit of a driving.
We've done some pretty crazy driving in one day to do a show. I mean, I would go to the coast for a couple of shows and drive the complete opposite direction for a couple hours to get to Rankin Ranch that night, and then wake up at 5 and then go to Fresno or something, you know. So it can get hectic, that's for sure. And you know, you really got to pay attention to the animals because they'll let you know when they've had enough.
I'm sure.
Do you ever like switch out animals like per show, or do you typically take the same ones to every show, or how's that work out?
No, for the most part, we would keep the same lineup. That if they needed a break, I would give them a break. You know, I gave Midnight a break for like a year and a half. But then there's times where I would say, okay, I'm not going to take Midnight today. I'll take another Tegu or something. I mean, she's obviously the most popular one. But we try to give them breaks, you know, when they need it, you know, obviously to eat and stuff like that. But it's, you know, you just got to learn your animals. You know, they'll tell you what they can do and what they can't do. You know, and if you pay attention, you know, they'll tell you everything you need to know.
Yep, that is 100% true.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not always easy. You know, sometimes they're, you know, in the middle of a show they've had enough. You know, and so you gotta switch them out pretty quick. But you know, it happens.
That's so what's become like, I know you've like when working on California, you've done the same venues over like the same libraries, you go back to some of the same schools. Like, did you have like a particularly favorite one that you would do repeatedly, or?
You know, a lot of the schools, I love doing the schools, you know, because you would get a cafeteria of 700 kids, you know, and as soon as you pull out anything, it's just, they go crazy. You know, they freak out. And every year it's like the first time they've ever seen it. You know, it's really kind of awesome. But probably my favorite, one of my favorite shows would be for a adults with disabilities that I did. And it was young kids up to young adults. And I remember there was a teenage girl. She was 16, 17 years old. Her name was Michelle. And the first time I did a show, I mean, she just wanted to touch and hold and everything. I mean, she was autistic and she was blind, but she wanted to touch everything. And I remember I came back a year later and she was there and she named every animal from the previous year in the order that I did them in, because I didn't do them in the same order this time, and she knew it. And I remember after that show, you know, she gave me a hug and she wanted to hug Midnight. And she told me how much she loved me and the animals, you know, and how much she loved our show. And so that was something that was just really incredible. That's you know, knowing you have that kind of impact, you know, your animals have that kind of impact on these people.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's really amazing. Yeah, yeah, there I go. My train of thought's gone. That tends to happen a lot.
Good old Conrad.
Yeah, I would not be good at educational shows. I would
it's tough
space out.
When you can crack a joke, you know, if things are not going well, you know, you got to kind of skip ahead sometimes to a different animal. You know, it's like I tell people, I haven't used a bearded dragon in my show in years. I haven't used a bearded dragon in my show because they're common. Everybody's seen them. You know, everybody knows what it is, and so I go for, you know, blue tongue skink or, you know, George the monkey tail or something like that. but sometimes during that show, it does, you can tell that their attention's starting to go away a little bit, so then you bring something, bigger out, and then that kind of gets them back to you and get excited again. So little things you learn along the way.
And Roaming Reptiles is sponsored by Zilla, right?
Yeah, so we have a few
correctly.
sponsors, and I'm again, that's something I never thought would ever happen. Zilla, we got together with them, and next thing I know, I'm getting a truckload of equipment, which I didn't at the time. I didn't live in a very large house, so whenever I got like 10 pallets of stuff, it was kind of hard to figure out where I'm going to put everything. But we got Zilla on board, and we got Coldblooded Cafe with Forrest Fanning. I remember talking to him, and he was, when you talk to someone like Forrest, he's like, "Yeah, I know who you are. I follow you, on what you're doing. It's amazing." It kind of blows you away a little bit, and then so we got them on board, and they help us out with rodents, which is huge, especially now that all of our shows are canceled for this thing. We have Bill Stewart, which is just amazing, and Dan Thomas with Animal House. They sponsor us, and we have our Patreon, which I never really published that because I feel weird, but
go ahead, man. After this video's done, I'll throw it up in the description of the YouTube version.
Yeah, it's just something we never really focused on, because once it became a thing, it was like everybody jumped on it, and it kind of felt like Summer, like why are you even doing it, but there was a time where it's like, okay, we can do that and help out with the animals, and let's do it. So we kind of did it, and it's been interesting, but yeah, getting the sponsors on board, has been something that's really pretty amazing, to have these people believe in us. And they would put their name behind it.
Yeah, especially people like Ryan McVeigh from Zilla, and then Forrest Fanning from Coldblooded. I mean,
yeah, that's a big deal for me. That's because those are you look at some of these people, and it's like, man, they know what we do, and they've seen what we do, and they believe in what we do, and they're willing to put their name on what we do, and that's a big deal, and so I it's just an awesome feeling.
Yeah, that's so. Yeah, now I'm running out of questions for y'all. You guys are slacking.
You guys have got this covered, man. So I think.
And let me throw this out there real quick, or Ryan will get all pissy. Be sure and check out the Madison Area Herp Society. If you're around in the Wisconsin area, it's a really cool society club that you can get and be a part of, and do a lot of things and learn a lot. So it's a really, really awesome way to get kids involved.
Nice.
Yeah, and about 30 minutes before we went live, I believe they shared the post that you shared about us going live. So I'll make sure to tag them in the YouTube video and everything too, and put their link in the description for you.
And if you want to, Friends of Scales, so be sure and reach out to them, because they can always hook you up.
Cool.
That's for her, because I know she would want that.
All right. So now, besides talking in front of crowds being a fear, have you ever worried about something going wrong at a show, like an animal? I don't know, like you said, you could see when they have enough or anything, but not catching it, or.
So I had a large Dumerals boa. His name is Alice.
Mm-hmm.
And I put a post about it, but I refused to share the picture. I still have the picture just as a reminder for me, but I've never made it public. And I was at a show, He was the last animal I was using, and one of the kids like got up and ran across, and it scared Alice, and he spun around and got me on the forearm, and like would not let go, and it was a decent bite, and the only thing you could do is I just told the kids that he was giving me a kiss, and I put a towel over his head and around my arm, and put my arm back in the tub. And I was like, all right, I'm just going to keep talking and he'll let go. We'll all be good. And I'm talking and he's biting and my voice get a little bit higher. He finally let go and I just wrapped my arm and, I finished the show. I think I had like 10 minutes left. And so I had a towel wrapped around my arm and, finished the show. That was, like a freak thing, you know. But after that, I never used Alice again. That was, I figured he's done his job. He's good.
Right.
So I retired him, and he's with really good friends of ours at the coast in California. They've always wanted him. They absolutely love him, and I figured that'd be a great place for him. So,
yeah, and at least it was you that he bit, and not one of the kids or parents while handling that. Would be crazy.
Yeah, I stress to people when I get questions from people that want to do these shows, if anyone gets bit, it better be you. If anybody else gets bit, it is 100% your fault. You should have never been in that position. You should have never put that animal in that position to bite somebody. And if someone has to get bit, it better be you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, which is completely understandable because you don't need that to make, because that would make headline news for kind of almost as ridiculous as it is. Like some kid got bit or something.
I firmly believe that if an educator went out there and a kid got bit, it would be completely devastating to the reptile hobby. It would destroy it. That would be it. There would be no coming back from it.
Yeah.
So that there's plenty of weight that you carry doing these shows. It's not just throw animals in a box and go for it. It's a lot of pressure because you got to make sure you are 100% every time.
For sure. It would definitely be my biggest fear doing it.
And that's having someone else get bit.
Yeah. Work with your animals, even on days you're not doing shows.
Yeah.
Work with your animals. You have to know your animals. If you don't know them and know exactly what they're going to do, don't take them.
Makes sense.
Right. Because, like you were saying, it doesn't take much if you've gotten to know your animal to read its body language and read what it does and does not want to do, and you can't force these animals to do what they don't want to do because,
No, I see some of these YouTubers and I'm like, man, it's a time bomb waiting to go off, man, with some of the stuff they're doing. And it's going to go off and it's going to happen because they're just not careful.
Yeah. We see it all the time in the hobby. Like, I don't know about in your friends list or who's on it, but, at least in my friends list, I see people getting bit all the time. Sometimes it's venomous bites, and it's a shame.
Well, it's what everybody says. You get bit, it's your fault. Don't put yourself in that position.
Right.
It's
never the animal's fault, though.
I'm asking pretty much every show if I ever get bit. And I'm honest. I get bit. It happens. It's most of the time when I'm feeding. Is when I get bit. Because I'll just hold a mouse in my hand or something. Because I'm not smart enough to actually use the tweezers. But it's not. It's my fault. I'm in that position. But I never want to get bit on purpose because there's no fun. I've never had fun getting bit. So.
Right. Now, do you still have your super dwarf that you got from Reach Out Reptiles last year, 2 years ago? I can't remember when that was.
So I lost 2 animals in the move, and that was one of them.
Oh man.
Yeah, so I called Garrett and let him know. And so that sucked, man. Because we did everything we could to make sure these animals were comfortable and set up and ready to go for that drive. And we lost 2, and that was one of them.
Damn.
Oh man. Yeah, that's a long.
And getting one from Garrett was a big deal. For me, I was so excited to get a Reach Out reptile animal. So maybe one day I'll get another one.
Oh yeah, he's always producing something cool. But that's a hell of a drive, man. California to Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Did you guys was that a straight shot then, or?
We left on a Sunday, and we got here on Thursday? Wednesday. Or we got here that Wednesday. 2,100 miles. Yeah, 2,100 miles, and it was in a moving truck, and my wife drove one of the cars, and I towed one of the cars behind the U-Haul truck, and I think we drove Sunday mid-afternoon till 2 in the morning, and we slept for a couple hours in the cars, and then we took off again. So and to tell you how much faith it took us to do this is we didn't even have a house. We didn't know we got the house until Wednesday.
Wow.
Oh wow.
Yeah, we were
you guys are,
we were like 150 miles away from where we were moving, and we got the phone call saying that we got the house.
That's awesome.
So it was kind of a big leap of faith.
Yeah,
because if not, we were
giant leap of faith.
If we didn't get the house, we'd have to move in with Ryan and Erica, and that would have been a whole mess.
So how'd you guys like Wisconsin compared to California?
So here's the thing. California was good to us, right? I mean, it grew from the reptiles. We have some amazing friends there. We have our family is in California, but California just didn't fit us, right? We wanted to go somewhere a little bit slower. We wanted to feel safe with our kids outside. We wanted to just kind of relax a little bit and move somewhere where cost of living was quite a bit lower, and just a healthier way of life. And so somehow Ryan talked us into moving here, and so we did it. And somehow I talked my wife into moving here, and we did it. And now we're here, and I like it. The winter wasn't too bad. It wasn't as bad as what we were expecting. I think it was probably a little bit of a lighter winter than what most expected. So it wasn't too bad.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys got lucky this winter. I mean, I'm in Michigan. I'm just across the lake from you guys. So,
it wasn't as bad as what we expected. We were expecting, we were going to be icicles for a few months. But it really wasn't as bad,
Yeah, this winter. Yeah, this winter wasn't horrible. I thought it would be way worse than what it was. Like last 2 winters ago, we were getting hit with snow, though. It was horrifying.
Yeah, I think my kids enjoyed the snow for the first 4 or 5 times, and then it was like, okay, good. Let's have some sun, and and the funniest thing to me is in California, if it was 40 degrees, we'd be freezing. Everybody would be bundled up and layered, and now we would get 45 degrees here, and we're like, oh, it's so nice outside. And it's something I never thought I would ever say in my life. It's
You're
45
already
degrees.
outside grilling at 45 degrees.
Yeah, and the kids are like, oh, I don't need a jacket. It's like 45 degrees, It's the strangest thing.
A few years ago, I moved to Vegas for a few months, and I moved there in November, so it was starting to get a little colder here in Pittsburgh. And I get there, it's like 70s, 80s. I walk to the gas station. I got gym shorts on and a t-shirt. Everybody else is in turtleneck sweaters and bubble
Right.
shorts. And I'm like, it's 70 degrees. What's wrong with you people?
Yeah, it's
They look at
crazy.
me like I'm crazy.
I remember Ryan would come down to Bakersfield when he was doing like the Pomona show or something like that, and it would be like 70, 75, and a dude's just like a big ball of sweat because it's like he's burning up. And we're like have our jackets on and long pants, and we're freezing, and he's in flip flops and shorts and a t-shirt. He's dying, has an AC turned on.
Yep, it's funny.
Jeez. Yeah, the northern U.S. is a whole different animal.
Yeah, I'm sure we're gonna get one of those winters here pretty quick.
Yeah,
that's gonna test us. But we'll get through it.
You guys get to enjoy like the view of Lake Michigan yet, or anything cool like that? Or?
We haven't, which is really strange. We haven't went that way yet. We live, 5 minutes away from Lake Winnebago, and so when we first got here, we'd go there every Friday night and have like a picnic with the family, and just kind of relax, on that Friday night. But yeah, we haven't really, we haven't even been like to Madison yet or anything like that. We just kind of been hanging out here. We've done a few shows like in Milwaukee and stuff like that, in Chicago. We haven't went out to Lake Michigan yet, which is something we need to do.
Yeah, she's definitely pretty. So,
yeah. But there's a lot of places I want to go herping too. So that's something I gotta get ready for.
You got any like native species you're excited about?
All of them.
All of them.
Yeah,
now, you guys got Eastern Massasaugas in Wisconsin, right?
I believe so. Yeah. And I'm so used to the California stuff. Going up to Reagan Ranch, I'd see a cow king. Every time. Glossy snakes and stuff like that, and so I'm looking forward to coming here and just seeing everything.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, well, enjoy the mid US instead of the West Coast.
No, it's good. The people are pretty awesome. Friendly and easygoing. So I like that.
Yeah, I mean we're almost at our hour mark. We've been starting to wrap it up a little bit earlier, like towards an hour. That way, people try and actually get through watching a whole interview instead of like 2 hours in. We're dragging on, no viewers, So if you got anything else you'd like to say, I mean, is there anything you want our viewers to know or would like?
The biggest thing is find an educator and show them some support. Honestly, it's I tell people all the time, we're kind of like the front lines because we're out there with people, on a daily basis. So find someone that you like and you enjoy what they do and support them. Tell them thank you, something. Give them, just props on what they're doing. Because a lot of times I know some great educators out there that are doing some amazing things, but because they're not dramatic and because they don't, scream and yell and act foolish, they don't get the publicity they should. So find these guys and tell them good job, because there's a lot of good ones out there.
For sure. Sure. Yeah, and thank you, man. You've done the community wonders the past few years. So
well, thank you. I appreciate that.
I'd say so.
Hopefully we can keep it going.
Yeah, for sure. And hopefully this quarantine's over soon. You know, the virus kind of curbs off and we're not seeing as many infected cases, and you guys can get back out there.
Yeah, because my animals are getting sick of me.
They want to see someone else.
They need some new faces.
Well,
Oh, man.
thanks for coming on, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Definitely.
Definitely.
All right. Thank you, Brandon. So
Is it? Good.
That's it.
I think, yeah, that's it. We can call it a wrap.
All right, man. Thanks again.
All
All
right.
right, thank you guys.
See ya.
Thank you, man. So, last week we touched on giveaway ideas.
Few people said t-shirts. We had someone suggested, what was it, coupons for feeders, some, right?
That's really not a bad idea, especially in
I mean,
this
and
time.
we were talking a little while ago of doing a giveaway like once a month or something like that. So I mean, we could always switch it up every month, do something different, or leave it up to whoever wins. Just let them choose.
Right. Like, well, we got this, and this to choose from. What you want?
Yeah. There you go.
It's not a bad idea. So Josh had a pretty cool dad joke he wanted to share with everyone.
I did not come up with that. Keith came up with that. Good, Keith.
I didn't come up with it.
As I'm trying to talk. The whole time I could feel my throat getting drier and drier. I'm like,
Drink something.
trying not to cough the whole time.
Yeah, you kind of sound like shit. No offense.
Yeah, I've been hacking a lung up.
All right. So
Hopefully
you know-
that sounds. Oh, okay. Go for
if you know how to steal a coat, put it in the comments. Don't Google it. That's cheating.
it. How do you steal a coat, guys?
How do you steal a coat?
Thank you guys for tuning in. We definitely appreciate all the support we've been getting. I mean, we started this thing like, what, 3-4 months? Wait, what month is it?
I don't know.
April. Yeah. So we started this back in like December, and it's been going strong. We've been getting more and more viewers, and we want to just thank all you guys. You guys are awesome. So keep an eye out for the giveaway. I don't know when we're doing it, but we will be doing one. And until next time, folks. That's all, folks.
Why?